New York regulators calling them out for not having formal policies on market manipulation or not detailing them, talking to the regulators about it. What's your response? Are you surprised by this?
Well, I'll be cautious to say that I'm not surprised because, these are the cash markets. So the CME group, which we run, we don't regulate the cash markets. We regulate the future side of the business. So we only have a little bit of cooperation in cash markets as it relates to our dairy products, but we work very closely with the USDA. Every other product, Scarlett, is, overseen by somebody besides CME on the cash side. We only see the derivative side. So from that perspective, when I look at some of these cryptocurrencies, I mean, some of the allegations coming out of the New York Attorney General are a little concerning. We are now going through the report in full, and, we haven't made a formal decision on how we're going to proceed, but when you look at our futures contract, and Scarlett, I've talked to you about this in the past, we came out with 47% margins on cryptocurrency. I listed them a year and some change ago, and the price was $19,500 of cryptocurrency. Today, at $6,300, whatever the cryptos are trading today, we still have 47% margin at those levels. So we've been managing the risk. Now, you might say, well, what does that have to do with the price? And because it's being settled against this cash index, which is true. So what we want to do is we have the ability, and we've always had the ability, if we see activity in the marketplace that we are not comfortable with, through our sharing arrangements with these crypto facilitators that facilitate our benchmark and pricing our futures contract, we have the ability to go in and look at this and see if there's any kind of behavior that we're concerned with.
Have you got enough price providers to be able to back away from some that you feel aren't looking at the risks themselves enough?
That's a great question, Caroline, because everybody, there's a school of rule that you would say you'd like to have 100 providers of cash markets, and then someone would say, well, you could go back to the LIBOR situation where you'd say, well, maybe that's not so good if we only had 2 or 3. Maybe it's a better sample of the price versus 100. So somewhere in between would probably be better. A couple's not good, but I'd like to see more people providing information as it relates to the cryptos. But at the same time, listen, this is an asset class, as some have referred to it. It's probably not going away. It's going through some difficult times right now, and I don't think that should be unexpected by anybody. But from our standpoint, confidence and credibility of our marketplace is critically important. That's why we have all the procedures and protocols we have at CME as it relates to our cryptos that we don't even have on any other products.
All right, so some growing pains, perhaps.
For sure.
I want to talk to you about NEX. CME, of course, buying NEX Group, formerly known as ICAP. The CFTC just fined it $50 million for helping to manipulate the ISDA FX fixed benchmark. Do you worry about any continued legal liability issues surrounding this business you're set to own?
No. As far as the ISDA fix is related to on the settlement today, that was announced today, the $50 million that the NEX Group agreed to settle with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, as you referred to, that is now over and done with, so that liability has been extinguished from CME's before we acquired NEX. So I was actually happy to see that be resolved, so we didn't have to deal with it once we hopefully get into a close by the end of the year. So no, I mean, there's liabilities and everything you do, but as it relates to the ISDA fix, is what they settled on today, that liability is now gone.
Terry, we've been talking about new areas that you've been expanding to in terms of crypto, new M&A that you're expanding the actual business in. Anything else tickle your fancy in terms of new markets that you want to get into, in terms of M&A or companies that you think could be a good option for you?
Without naming names, right now, no. I'm very focused on getting the next transaction approved by the regulators and then closed and then integrated into CME Group. I think it adds a lot of value. But I will say, Caroline, down the road, I think this is what consumers are going to demand, this is what businesses are going to demand, and it's capital efficiencies. So anything that you're looking to do going forward to build your company, it needs to have the client in mind, how you're going to create capital efficiencies. That's my whole thinking and my team's thinking around the process of running CME Group. How can we create more efficiencies for the marketplace and its users?
Frictionless trading, in other words.
Yes, ma'am.